Let's jump right in. Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're taking a close look at a huge update that just dropped for developers everywhere, Claude Code version 2.1.208. If you've been using Claude Code in your daily programming routine, you already know it's an absolute beast for your workspace. But this specific release, it is a true workflow level up. We're talking about an across-the-board refinement that brings in highly requested features, squashes an incredibly long list of frustrating bugs, and completely overhauls performance and memory usage. It's the kind of update that doesn't just add a few bells and whistles, it literally changes how the tool feels and responds during those long, intense coding sessions. Okay, let's dive into this.
Here is a quick roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with Section 1, leveling up the interface. Then Section 2, squashing major bugs. After that, Section 3 is supercharging under the hood. And we'll wrap it all up with Section 4, why this matters for you.
All right, Section 1, leveling up the interface, adapting to you.
You know, the absolute best tools are the ones that adapt to you, right? Not the other way around. Well, right out of the gate, we've got a massive win for accessibility here. Claude Code now features a dedicated opt-in accessibility mode built specifically for screen reader users. When you flip this on, the interface drops all that complex terminal formatting and switches to a super clean, plain text rendering mode. No more tripping up your screen reader. Plus, they've made it incredibly flexible to activate using 3 distinct methods. You can literally just toss the --X screen reader flag right into the command line. Want it on persistently? Just set your environment variable to CLUAD_AX_screen reader equals 1. Or if you're a config file person, just pop AX screen reader true straight into your settings. Boom, done. It's seamless, it's flexible, and it opens up the tool to so many more developers. Okay, for the keyboard purists out there, Vim users, rejoice. I know exactly how it is. If you rely heavily on muscle memory, context switching into a tool that breaks your flow is just brutal. Claude Code already had a Vim mode, sure, but version 2.1.208 introduces the brand new Vim Insert Mode Remaps setting. This lets power users configure Claude Code to behave exactly like their native editor. You can now define custom 2-key insert mode sequences. So, for example, if you're used to rapid-firing JJ to hit escape and bounce back to normal mode, you can map that directly in Claude Code now. It's a tiny tweak, but for developers who live and breathe Vim, this completely removes the friction of jumping between your editor and the CLI. Rounding out the interface updates, we've got 2 really practical additions. First up, for the IT managers and enterprise teams, meet the CLUDE code process wrapper environment variable. If you're in a strict corporate environment, you have to control and audit exactly how processes are launched. This new variable lets organizations route every single Claude Code self-spawn, whether it's the agent view or a background service, straight through a wrapper executable. It keeps corporate security policies totally happy. On a lighter, but honestly equally welcome note, if you run Claude Code in full screen mode, full mouse support is finally here. You can literally just click to interact with multi-select menus and those tricky other input rows. It just gives you that smooth, modern UI feel right inside your terminal. Let's move on to Section 2, squashing major bugs. The relief factor. Any developer knows the absolute relief of reading a changelog and seeing that one specific bug that has been driving you crazy is finally gone. Let's look at some serious pain points. Picture this. You've just spent minutes meticulously typing out this incredibly complex context prompt for a background agent. You smash enter, and you hit a delivery failure. In older versions, that entire reply was just lost to the void, completely gone. It was an absolutely infuriating, relatable nightmare, right? Well, you can finally relax. They fixed it. Now, background agent replies typed during a failed delivery are automatically saved. The second your session restarts and reconnects, those replies are immediately sent through. Your work is preserved, and your keyboard is safe from being chucked across the room. And this brilliantly illustrates the next major fix. Previously, if Claude Code generated a colossal markdown table, we're talking hundreds or thousands of rows, the system would try to render the whole thing at once. That meant stalled rendering, frozen terminals, and a severe memory overload. Well, the new solution is so elegant. Markdown tables are now strictly capped at rendering 200 rows. If it goes over that, it cleanly truncates the output and drops a simple ... and more rows message. It stops the terminal from choking while still letting you know all your data is actually there. Now, here is a bug fix that is honestly pretty funny in hindsight, unless, of course, it was actively breaking your code. Turns out, a million is not the same as 1. Who knew? There was this wild issue where scientific notation environment variables, for instance writing 1 million as 1E6, were being silently truncated by the system down to just the number 1. You can imagine the absolute chaos this caused if you were relying on those variables for memory limits or processing thresholds. Thankfully, that silent truncation is entirely patched, and your scientific notations are finally safe.
Let's rapid fire a few more crucial bug squashes that are going to make your day-to-day so much smoother. First, fast mode now restores automatically. Used to be if you switched away from a supported model and came back, it stayed stubbornly off. Now it smartly toggles right back on. Next, for AWS users, Bedrock's streaming errors used to show a really vague, misleading truncation message. Now it correctly identifies and displays the true proxy content type, so you can actually debug the real issue. Finally, and this is huge for API efficiency, running the /release notes command no longer injects the entire lengthy changelog into the model's context for every subsequent request. That bug was causing massive, completely unnecessary context bloat, wasting your tokens, and it has been entirely patched out.
All right, Section 3, Supercharging Under the Hood, Performance and Memory.
Let's take a breath and shift gears here. While the UI tweaks and bug fixes are fantastic, the performance and memory upgrades are where this release truly flexes. The engineering team went to town optimizing resource usage for long, complex, edit-heavy sessions. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this staggering number, 79. What does that mean? In this update, your session transcript size is reduced by up to 79 times in edit-heavy sessions. How on earth did they manage a 79x reduction? By aggressively and intelligently pruning superseded file history backups. In older versions, as you made edits, the history of those backups just kept piling up in the transcript, devouring your context window and slowing everything to a crawl. By dumping the backups that are no longer relevant, your transcript stays incredibly lean, lightning fast, and way cheaper on your token count. Got another striking number for those of you really pushing the limits of the system. 7. If you are using MCP tools, the Model Context Protocol tool pool assembly is now fully cached. Before, compiling the available tools was taking up unnecessary time for every single call. With caching locked in place, MCP tool call rounds are now up to 7 times faster, specifically when you're operating with high tool counts. If you have an environment loaded up with complex integrations, this 7x speed multiplier is going to make your agent interactions feel insanely snappy and responsive. They also systematically hunted down and bounded some serious technical debt across the architecture, plugging up massive memory leaks. For example, Language Server Protocol files, LSP documents, used to be held in memory indefinitely. Now they are cleanly capped at 50, using an LRU, or least recently used eviction method. For MCP Studio servers, they patched a nasty leak where standard error was accumulating up to 64 megabytes per server. That will drain your RAM so fast in a multi-server setup, but it's fixed now. The file edit read cache used to pin up to 1,000 full files in memory. It is now strictly bounded at a highly efficient 16 megabytes. And finally, for headless and SDK sessions, they fixed an issue where oversized tool result payloads were causing infinite, unbounded memory growth. Bottom line, Claude Code is going to run perfectly all day long without slowly devouring your system's RAM.
Bringing it all home with Section 4, Why This Matters for You, Upgrading Your Workflow. We've talked a lot about plain text rendering, 79x context reductions, and LRU eviction caches. But let's connect all these technical dots back to you, sitting at your terminal trying to get work done. So, the crucial point is this. If you use background agents, if you connect to multiple MCP servers, or if you routinely grind through long, multi-hour editing sessions, your daily workflow just got a transformative upgrade. You are going to feel these performance gains immediately. Your terminal isn't going to freeze up rendering data, your RAM won't disappear by the afternoon, and your tool calls are going to execute so much faster. And importantly, right alongside these heavy power user upgrades, developers who rely on screen readers now have full, untethered access to the platform. It is a massive win for performance and a massive win for inclusivity.
This 2.1.2008 update takes an already powerful AI coding assistant and hardens it into a highly optimized, enterprise-ready powerhouse. Your environment is more stable, your context window is protected, and your custom keystrokes are actually respected. With the memory leaks finally plugged, the annoying bugs squashed, and your tool speeds multiplied across the board, the only thing left to ask is, what will you build next with Claude Code? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep coding, keep creating, and I'll see you next time.